Booyakasha! Welcome back everyone sa Usapang Politika. Things can get any hotter, any more, it's getting hot in here. Yan, medyo mga matandang millennial music tayo. Brother, kamusta naman dyan? How are you, brother?
I'm good. Finally, dineklara ko na nga yung aking pagkakandidato bilang konsyal sa Mandaluyong. So, exciting times. At nagpe-prepare na tayo para mangampanya dito. So, kung marami ng mga gusto mag-volunteer, which is great. Tapos, nakita ko na yung pangalan ko sa balota, number 10. Ayun, so pinaplano na namin lahat ngayon. And sana nga magawa to kasi curious din ako kung kaya ba ng isang vlogger na walang machinery, na walang pera, independent, kung kaya ba niya manalo sa ganitong mundo ng politika.
Shoutout naman dyan kay Speaker Martin Romualdez. Kasi napasin ko, bro. Lahat ng biglang nangakandidato, pagkausap ko, biglang, shoutout naman dyan kay Speaker. Sabi ko, walang kaya talaga mga tao. Pahamak kayo dyan, pahamak kayo.
Pero alam mo I just wanted to add that what's interesting is merong mga iba't ibang mga volunteer groups that reached out to me already, and may isa, as a matter of fact, is a BBM parang youth group, if I remember correctly. Now, what's fascinating for me kasi is siguro nakikita nga ng mga taong bayan natin na hindi naman tayo talaga completely biased, where we just look at the facts and we try to look at everything objectively. Na kung may nagawa naman tama si BBM, give him credit. Pero pag may ginawang mali, I will criticize. Ganun lang ang tamang
Wait,
demokrasya eh.
excuse me. May ginawang mali si BBM. How dare you? Shoutout naman dyan kay First Lady. Kasi kanina, usapan natin troll farm, di ba? Yung mga troll farm ngayon, galit na galit kay First Lady at Martin Romualdez. I wonder why. Di sila galit masyado 2 years ago or even last year.
Well, depende kasi kung magkano yung bayad eh. Yun lang naman yan eh. Kung mas mataas ang bayad, mas galit sila, di ba? Kasi mas may
Millions
rason
and
silang magalit.
millions.
Pero alam mo ito lang masasabi ko napansin mo nga itong mga troll farm na to na honestly, I don't know if it's just me, pero parang one-sided yung troll farm. Which side? You can figure it out. It's almost always on the
Hmm.
Duterte side, the troll army.
Grabe ka naman.
Do I see any from the BBM army? Not as much. I haven't seen any. The ones that I've seen are legit BBM supporters. Unlike yung kay Duterte, talagang troll army yung nakikita ko. Wala pa akong masyado nakikita na
How
yung
dare you, brother?
I know.
Maharlika is fully
Nako.
alright based on conviction. She loves
Wow.
the country, amazing person.
Matagal na sa payroll yun ata, di ba? Opinion ko lang. I'm not
Wala
saying it's
tayong
true or not.
sinasabi, wala tayong sinasabi, pero maganda yung Tesla niya. Nakita mo yung mga videos niya from Tesla niya?
Wow.
Yeah, tas
Are you
naka-open.
serious? May
Oh
Tesla siya?
yeah, naka-Tesla
Ano ba?
siya yung X-model pa, hindi lang yung mga ano lang, yung mga chipang na entry level, talagang medyo ang ganda ng buhay, 'di ba? Nakita ko para may kaso siya sa US ng Stafford. I don't know, I just saw something online. Ewan ko kung
Oh,
totoo
wow.
yun or hindi. Wala tayong sinasabi wala tayong sinasabi. But
Yeah.
brother, speaking of running independent, hindi, actually, I agree with you. Kasi sinasabi rin ni Senator Trillanes sa akin na doon sa Caloocan, marami din siya mga supporters na hardcore DDS. So, pansin na talaga sa local level, bro, hindi ideology ang usapan. Ang usapan, serbisyo talaga, no?
Oh, wow. Yeah, sir, did you say hardcore DDS?
Oh, pero
Um,
gusto nila si Trillanes kasi gusto nila yung maayos na yung situation sa Caloocan. Siyempre,
right.
looking at the basics, pare. Which makes you think also that the support for Digong or even BBM perhaps, a lot of people who supported them were all just desperate for a different form of governance. And siguro ngayon na namulat yung iba. But that's why you shouldn't cancel people just because you don't agree with who they voted for. They have many reasons, including good reasons.
Yes, I agree. I agree. At ngayon na nga, ang maganda nga sa nangyayari ngayon is that mas marami sa ating mga kababayan are learning to have different opinions at hindi sila nagwawala. So, nagkakaintindihan tayo na, number one. Number two, yung isang interesting dynamics in this administration is the freedom of speech. Nabanggit lang to ni Congresswoman si Roman from saan ba siya ulit? From Cebu ata to eh. Yung nag-apologize siya kay Laila de Lima for being silent nung time ni Digong. Tapos, she's apologizing because she didn't stand up for the women, for the marginalized sector, and didn't speak out. Sabi niya kasi nga, nagkaroon ng chilling effect yung nangyari kay De Lima at marami sa ating mga kababaihan from the LGBTQ community and other marginalized sectors were silenced talaga. Natakot talaga daw sila. Inaamin niya. And for her to come out with this statement, that's pretty brave na nga to come up with even a statement. And it's very humbling for somebody to admit na nagkamali ako, natakot ako, at nag-apologize ako. Hirap yun. So,
Speaking
kudos to
of
her.
Congresswoman Roman, mukhang she didn't apologize for one more thing. She's not supporting daw the impeachment complaint dahil nirerespeto niya yung opinion ng ating minamahal na Pangulo.
Okay. So,
So what I love about politicians, when they apologize, you're waiting for the catch. And
yeah,
then, but sorry, I cannot support you now on this naman. In 3 years, I will, pag ng administration, mag-apologize
is
na.
she up for re-election ba? Bakit kaya sinabi niyo yun?
Yeah, I think so. Probably. I mean, wala tayong sinasabi. I'm just saying I was wondering what she's gonna say, and then actually kanina lumabas sa news na she made it clear in sabi niya ang priority dapat natin ibaba ang presyo ng mga bilihin, inflation, as if pushing for rule of law is mutually exclusive. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Actually, maraming disappointed sa kanya back in the day kasi yun nga, they were looking at her as the embodiment of hindi lang mga LGBTQ plus community but also progressive politics among other things. But anyway, brother, I'm not here to really litigating because kanina lang sinabi ko don't cancel people just because they voted for the wrong person. Going back to this, Puya ka siya, brother. I don't know if you caught our RRM with Ronald Llamas the other day, nung Friday, Saturday, na kung saan sinabi namin na there will be an impeachment complaint this week and it will not come from the usual suspects, neither Makabayan bloc nor from the Team Martin Romualdez bloc. It came from Akbayan et al. Anong basa mo dito, brother?
Well, isn't that part of the Makabayan block? Makabayan was also part of it, weren't they? If I remember
Akbayan
correctly.
and Makabayan are medyo parang like me and sa kabilang channel. I'm just kidding. It's like Manchester
Hmm.
United and Manchester City, di ba? May ano yan. Oh,
Ah,
may mga dynamics yan. No, they're very different. And then obviously with the Lima, civil society groups, and of course also Senator Trillanes, mga Magdalo, sumuporta sila. So Akbayan et al.
right,
So you only need one
right.
congressman to sponsor it. So that was Percy, yung president, longtime president ng Akbayan, and also
Yes.
Congressman
Yeah,
like.
my apologies, you're right. It is the Akbayan block pala, no? Tama that that filed this along with former Senator Laila de Lima, and it's very symbolic that they actually used former Senator Laila de Lima as the one who they chose to be the spokesperson with regards to this impeachment complaint. Now, if I remember correctly, the numbers are 42 counts of impeachable offenses. Was it 42 or 24? I don't remember,
No,
but
no, more than,
basically it was a lot.
yeah. And all grounds except treason. Practically everything.
Yes.
Graft, plunder, abuse of power. The only lang na hindi nila ginamit yung treason. Sabi ko, hintayin natin yung investigation kay Tatay Digong yung mga kaso niya sa China. Diba? It's like, solusyonan natin. Wala akong sinasabi. But yeah, it's
Uh,
incredible that there were dozens of items cited in the complaint. It's 20 plus pages, brother.
yes. And
20 plus pages.
all of them are legitimately legitimate reasons for impeachment talaga. Kaya yung one thing that was interesting with the timing was if you remember, just was it yesterday or was it this morning? Hindi ko maalala to eh. Kung yesterday this morning nagkaroon ng press con yung kung mga kongreso natin, mga young guns, na wala pa daw usapang impeachment, pero kung gustong may gusto mag-file, nasa kanila yon. May mga citizens group, pero within the majority block, sinabi nga nila na walang mag-file, wala pa na pag-usapan. Pero nga, ito na yung Akbayan block nga, that actually went ahead with this impeachment complaint. So it was interesting the timing of having that press con. Let me move back a bit, with BBM first saying that he is encouraging, requesting Congress not to file the impeachment. Pero pag tinignan mo yung text message, as I talked about in the video I did, parang weird nung text message na yun, na parang hindi legit at saka walang recipient Kumbaga, walang sinabing recipient si Anthony Taberna or anyone. And seriously, he could have only sent that to somebody, a member of Congress, di ba? Pero nobody in the Congress ever said, it was me who he sent it to. Wala, zero. So it was very peculiar. And would you really call him BBM? I think if the president's that close, to you probably call him Bongbong. Or I don't know, parang weird. Everything about it was so weird, even the typographical error, ang dami. So that was the first move. The second chess move was the Congress na biglang nagpa-press con regarding the impeachment. And right after the Congress did the press con, boom, few hours later, filed na ang akbayan. And with former Senator Laila de Lima in the forefront. Uh, was it intentional? Hard to say, but looks like the pieces are all moving, and there's some grand coordination happening in this chess game we're seeing right now. That's what my read is so far on what's happening. Um, Here's a question I have for you, Richard. Tingin mo ba right now is a good time to file this? Ayan.
Well, first of all, fantastic intervention. First of all, I had some problem with President Marcos Jr.'s intervention kasi obviously it makes sense for him na dumistansya na siya at to wash off his hands and all of that, and also to say that if ever something happens, wala akong kinalaman diyan, di ba? And at the same time, of course, the numbers are not there in the Senate, obviously, which is something that we'll go back to very shortly. And I think genuinely Marcos was worried kasi mukhang na-spook yung mga economic managers natin na this was really bad headline. It was bad enough and you don't want to fuel the fire. So bad yan sa economy, sa investment. Our currency is already weak at almost 59 to $1, etc. So siguro he was in the de-escalation mode, and not to mention with SARA Duterte saying, eto na, nagpapa-victim na siya. It was his way of disarming the other side. Oh, huwag kayong magdrama, wala nga akong ginagawa eh. But having said that, bro, my problem kasi with the intervention of BBM, and that's where I get to answer your question is, sana hindi niya sinabi categorically. Sana sinabi niya, if the impeachment was because specifically of the assassination against me, then I would say rather not do it. Idaan na lang natin sa korte. So, but
Right.
he categorically kasi said something against impeachment na kunyaring leak daw. I think all of us know hindi naman talagang leak yan. And then yung may sinabi pa siya na, 'di ba, tinanong sa kanya, do you think meron pang, pwede kayo mag-reconcile, never say
Yeah.
never. So my sense is 2 days, 3 days earlier, you're all guns blazing, I will fight on, hindi mo pwede ba? I just felt medyo sablay, to be honest. Medyo sablay. And
Yeah.
I think that BBM already has this image problem, which is he's seen as a weak leader, at least by some people, or yun yung line of attack. I think it doesn't help him if he seems diffident. So I think there's a way for you na pwede dumistansya and to, wash off your hands
Yes.
with the timing and candidates being better. Now, speaking of your question, ako, tama yung sinabi ni Congressman Percy kanina, and I kept on going back to this. Unang-una, it has to start somewhere, right? So
Mm.
obviously, with President saying that openly, and some of the congressmen also looking at their own interests, maybe they don't want to be the tall grass, right? They don't want to be the first one. So unfortunately, it fell on other people who are willing to take the risk to do it. Pangalawa, I don't think anything will happen if you don't get the ball rolling, in a sense that you will never have the numbers if you don't even try to push it in a certain direction. And tama naman sinabi ni Senator De Lima a few days ago, which is, ang usapan naman dito is graft and corruption and abuse of power. Kung talaga may basihan yan, hindi dapat tinitignan kung politically feasible or not. Dapat titignan kung dapat ba mag-file ng impeachment to begin with.
Yeah.
So it was a principled position. And Congressman Percy was saying a while ago na dahil sa tingin namin malakas yung ebidensya, eventually it will create the numbers that it needs to create. So the first thing we have to watch for is if there'll be 103. I think kailangan 1/3 for this to move up to the Senate, and then let's see how it goes from there. Pero if hindi makuha yung 1/3 kaagad sa Kongreso, that means marami pa rin sa Kongreso na hinintay pa rin na masayin yung Senado. Now, speaking of scenarios forward, I'll quickly go through this and I want to pick your mind on this. I think in an ideal world for a BBM type of leader, ang gusto nila is, let's call it slow burn strategy. Isolate, marginalize, let Dutertes make fool of themselves. So kahit hindi sila ma-impeach or anything, they're gonna be a pariah, right? Then the second strategy would be sampahan mo na maraming kaso, ANBI mo, impeachment mo, lahat man, and I hope that eventually that will create enough threshold critical mass para you turn things around. No? Meaning, yung mga ibang senador na nagdadalawang isip, parang, kailangan natin sumama. Ito na yung tsunami. And then the third option is, this is what Justice Carpi was telling me the other days, the accelerator model, kumbaga. If you say yes to ICC and ICC tomorrow issues the warrant of arrest, that is the lock that will unleash the typhoon, right? Unleash the torrent of tsunami. And from there, anything is possible. So obviously, each of these options have a downside. Yung slow burn, maybe it will not work. Maybe at some point, the Dutertes will make a comeback. Yung mga sampakan ng marami, spaghetti, what will stick, that also may not work because after elections, baka ibang senador, may iba nang iniisip, thank you, BBM, pero hindi ka namin kailangan simula 2020. And then with the ICC one, it also raises its own question, intervention, sovereignty, blah, 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 na narrative ng mga Duterte. So there's no sure shot here, brother. That's why at the end of the day, you just have to do what is right. That's my point.
Yeah. But sa tingin ko nga, maybe BBM with his pronouncement na hindi nga niya susuportahan yung impeachment, maybe lang yun na nga, it's the double speak. It's really just political maneuvering at the end of the day. I actually think that the reasoning of yung baka ma-affect yung economy and investor confidence is a weak argument because if he actually portrayed strength like he did, that would give better investor confidence. Na, oy, malakas ang leader. He can hold this thing together. Ang nakakatakot is having VP Sara right there at the cusp, always ready and waiting and wanting to be president. Yun ang nakakatakot na political instability if Sara becomes president because we all know na may iba siyang agenda at iba ang kanyang political leanings. Not only that, political alliances. So immediately, yan ang mas nakakatakot for investors versus Marcos just saying, this is it. Bam, let's do it. Strong statement will gain the confidence that they're saying we could lose by him making a divisive statement. It's not a divisive statement. By saying na mali yung ginawa ni Sara and by saying that that kind of a threat has no place in society and I will not stand for it. And yes, if impeachment is one of the avenues, then let it be. And he could have said instead, pero ang Kongreso natin ay independent, co-equal branch of government. Nasa sa kanila yan, hindi sa akin. Kung ako, pwede sabihin, kung sa akin, baka sayang ng oras, pero bahala ang Kongreso dyan, I will let them do what they're mandated to do. Tapos, that could have been a stronger, better statement. Because by showing na the co-equal branches of government are functioning, mas lalakas ang institusyon natin at ang demokrasya and ang investor confidence. So that's on that angle. Now, you mentioned, di ba, yung pagsasampa nga ng impeachment complaint today, end of the year, we have the elections in May, tama ba yung timing or hindi? At kung makukuha ba yung boto? Alam mo sa akin, if Congress is not able to get the votes needed to be able to progress with this impeachment, nakakahiya for Congress after lahat ng ginawa ng Quadcom, ginawa ng ng Committee on Accountability, after all of the investigations and all of the revelations, hindi nila itutupad to, then Congress looks weak, Congress looks indecisive, and Congress looks like a bunch of wimps. Yun ang kalalabasan nila. At makikita mo dito na politics lang talaga to, hindi na prinsipyo ang pinag-uusapan. Dahil sobrang obvious naman sa mga nakikita nating ebidensya that Sara committed impeachable offenses. It is undeniable. Only an idiot or a DDS, the die-hard, religious, fanatic supporter will even not see na may maling ginawa si Sara. No matter how you look at it, kahit ganong karaming besong balik-balik na rin to, talagang impeachable yung mga nagawa niya. So, yun pa lang dapat papasa na to sa Kongreso. Ngayon, Senado, that's a different story. Alam naman natin
No, but that's
yung
my point,
Senate,
brother. Hindi ba the way out for the Congress is to say, we are doing our job. Ang sagabal lang dito yung Senado. So shift the
yeah,
pressure to the Senate. Actually, not Senate as a whole, but a couple of individuals out there who are not doing their job. I mean, given na yung bato and bongo, but may mga iba dyan na, hello, yung iba nga, tumatakbo pa nga sa admin ticket, tapos walang ginagawang matino on the Duterte issue. So, what I'm saying is that actually Congress has a way out of this by putting the pressure and blame on the Senate. It said, we're doing our part. Kayo ang problema dyan. So, I see a way out there. And I completely agree with you on the Marcos thing. My point is, Ano bang point ni Marcos? Huwag tayong magulo, hayaan lang natin manggulo lang yung mga Duterte. Speaking of that, what is your read of the people power revolution nung nangyaring weekend? Parang may
Well,
drone shot na ba, bro? May drone footage? May
yeah, well, alam mo, yung people power revolution na sinusubukan nila, it is so ironic, di ba, that they're calling for that. But at the same time, ito yung interesting, is that you see the mindset of the Dutertes na they're using a lot of extrajudicial means, and they're always used to extrajudicial means to be able to gain the upper hand, to be able to oppress, to be able to abuse, and to be able to subvert the law. Okay? And that's where the problem lies. I mean, think about all the moves that happened with VP Sara threatening to kill the president, first lady and speaker of the house. Then Digong saying, ano ba yung army, AFP natin, kailan ba kayo magsusuportahan pa ba niyo itong bangag na to, drug addict? Then, at the same time, right after that, boom, nagkaroon ng so-called people power. Please, let's not even use people power. It's a small group na binayaran, kawawa nga, para magkano binayad sa kanila? Tagpa 500 lang ata eh.
Uy,
Tapos,
wag tayong ganyan. Nag-message sila sa akin, sa kanya, para sa pagkain lang naman daw. At siya, na-hurt daw yung... Kasi may shinare ako. I don't know if you saw that video, yung
yep.
tumatawa sila, binigyan ng envelope. Na-hurt daw feelings nila. Parang, wow, sorry Parang, I was just asking a question.
Yeah, well, alam mo, sa akin, sure, nabigyan kayo ng konti pampagkain and everything. But the problem with that line of thinking is that kung totoong ando doon kayo out of conviction, you wouldn't even accept it eh. It would be an insult. Pero naintindihan ko, not everyone
Oo
probably has
naman. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
privilege to be able to do that. Fine,
Malaking
I
bagay ang
understand.
500 pesos if ever true. I'm not saying so.
Sure.
500 is a world of difference for some people.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand. Pero you want people power? My God, I'll give you an example of people power na hindi nga revolution, pero grabe. Yung during the election, Lenny Robredo, do you know how many people showed up there and instead of asking for money, they were giving water, they were preparing food and giving it away to everyone. Nagkaisa talaga yung mga mamamayan natin noong time. It was very interesting. Now again, yung nangyari dito for me lang, it's really embarrassing kasi pag tinanong mo sa kanila, ano ba pinaglalaban nyo? Hindi din nila kayo masasagot ng maayos. Kasi kung ang pinaglalaban mo ay isang personalidad, mahirap panindigan yung mga nagagawa nilang mali. Kaya mahirap pangakuha ng suporta para pumunta dyan sa EDSA na umuulan. Para sabihin na sinusuportahan ko itong taong to. Imbis na sabihin mo sinusuportahan mo taong to, pag sinabi mo sinusuportahan mo yung prinsipyo, may pinaglalaban ka, mas malakas yun. Kaya this so-called revolution fizzled out immediately. Pero, I mean, I guess you can't blame the Dutertes for trying. Meron silang budget. Ang laki ng pera na kukuha nila from confidential funds na nagpupunta kay Mary Grace Piatos. Malay mo ba,
Akala ko
Mary Grace
China to.
Piatos funded it. Ha?
Wala.
Yung ano pa, China or drugs. I mean, maraming mga posibilidad.
Wala akong sinasabi. Joke lang. Yum. Ito bro, ito masasabi ko sa'yo. I think one of the most, actually lucky tayo nangyari yan. One of the puzzling things to me is Duterte never created a solid movement. No?
Yep.
Titignan mo lahat ng mga populists. Narendra Modi has a millions BJP party. He has the RSS at the core of that. Erdogan has the AKP. Again, hundreds of thousands of chapters and followers and all of that. Trump now has a MAGA movement. My goodness, people, pouring millions and millions of dollars every month into his legal cases, into his campaign. So actually, kung titingnan mo, Duterte is one of the few populists out there na hindi ko lang dala ng katamaran, katrapuhan, or lack of vision. He never built a solid party, solid movement, walang chapter per city. That was actually the plan of his original campaign manager, yung kilusan para sa pagbabago, no? But this was allegedly vetoed by Bongo, who thought just through transactional politics, kaya nilang gawin yan. And now this is coming back to bite them. And we're lucky. At napansin mo, bro, in the 6 years of Duterte, he was never able to replicate yung nangyari sa Meeting de Avance. Because yung Meeting de Avance talaga ni Digong, that was really something. Wow! Talagang pang drone footage. After that, puro mga nangyari. And alam mo yung Duterte youth? Yung 7 lang sila nag-rally doon.
Yep.
like it was a clown show. I mean, even if allegedly the ILG was busting in people and all, kunting ulan na, wala na sila nung time ng when Duterte was calling for nationwide martial law. So I think this is one of the paradoxes, and at the same time, we're lucky na Duterte never managed to fully institutionalize and create a movement out of his very, very dangerous, bloody form of populism. Otherwise, yari tayong lahat because walang pangtapat. Anyone. Siguro makabayan lang, but not even them, di ba? So,
Yep.
this is why we're seeing what we're seeing na nakakatawa lang yung mga ginagawa nila. So, you're right. Maybe they have money. Maybe they have whatever. Pero hindi ito genuine movement, pare. Wala silang warm bodies eh.
Yeah. And alam mo, the reason they don't have the warm bodies and they don't have that machinery that
Except
they
Davao.
should
Oh,
have,
sorry. Except in Davao. Ibang usapan yan. But I'm talking about
right.
nationwide. Yeah, yeah.
Pero nationwide, alam mo kung bakit wala yan? Yung parang organizational ability, that machinery that can push them. Alam mo kasi, tignan mo ba naman lahat ng mga tao around Duterte? They're not very smart. We've talked about this. Look at the people that SARA surrounds herself with. They're not very smart. There are a lot of attack dogs, loyalists, but mali nga yung word loyalists is for BBM supporters. Pero mga ano sila, mga DDS supporters na talagang
Die
wala
hard, die
masyadong
hard, die hard, die hard.
mga diehard na wala nito eh. Sa totoo lang ha. I mean, honestly,
Grabe ka naman.
if
Grabe
you're
na.
smartest, I'm sorry,
No.
I'm gonna say it. If your smartest person in the room is Panelo, that's not that smart. If your smartest person in the room is Harry Roque, my God, you're gonna need a lot more than that. So, pag
Hindi,
makita mo yung mga...
smart si Harry Roque. Medyo mali lang yung direction, di ba? Yung
Okay,
mali lang
sige,
yung
fine.
direction.
You're,
Ganito na lang bro,
you're,
he's
ano.
so smart, yung manhunt sa kanya, hindi pa rin nag-produce ng result. I mean,
Alam mo,
akala mo, nag-live siya everyday, kasabay pa tayo, inagawan pa tayo ng audience. Kaya tinanong ko yung General Torre, kaya matapos ng manhunt na yan kay Harry Roque. No.
yeah,
Bro, but, okay, let me push back slightly on that. Ang point ko is, kasi none of the ace player wanted to work for Digong, let's be honest. Kasi
yon,
image mo eh. So actually,
yon.
they were left with the gallery of rogues, mga Panelo, sino yung may peluka, yung Justice Secretary, mga ganun, mga gallery of rogues. So
Yep.
we're also lucky na the best minds did not go defect to Duterte. Kasi that happened with Marcos, di ba? Best professors, UP, ganun. Lahat sila, Marcos senior sila eh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're also lucky that Duterte did not get the defection of the creme de la creme of this country.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. So it's a combination of two things then. It's number one, siguro ayaw nga niya ng ayaw niya ng pushback. He wants yes men and then he got yes men. Number one. Number two, yun na nga, that the people that are the best minds did not want to work for him nor did they want to be a part of his government. Although I do know some people na matitino na sumali sa gobyerno ni Duterte nung panahon niya and they did it but they're very nice, honest to goodness Christians na ganun pero sumali sa ano niya sa gobyerno niya and they did naman a good job pero they didn't agree with his policies but they were just doing their job pero that's few and far in between. BBM's administration now is much more diverse and there's a lot of good strong personalities in there and I think it's because nga mas may machinery behind BBM. It's not just him eh.
BBM,
Yeah.
BBM. Shoutout naman
Pe-
dyan kay Speaker Martin. Para matroll tayo. Sorry, bro.
Pero tanong ko lang yun nga naalala ko nung nabanggit mo sa akin to, yung napansin ko nga na tama ka doon na wala nga siyang parang attack dog. Natulad ni Duterte may attack dog siya. Ay, pero meron na pala ngayon. Meron pala. Kung si Duterte may Marcoleta, ito si BBM may Larry Gadon.
Akala ko Mark Gambo. Just
No,
kidding. Just
Larry
kidding.
Gadon. Nakita mo 'yon, 'di ba? Nag-file ng disbarment case now against sa VP Sara kasi ang point niya is ako dinisbar nyo, kailangan nyo siya i-disbar. What
Sinabi
she
ko
did is
lang, hindi ba
worse.
siya yung na-disbar? Parang, anong credibility niya?
Yeah, pero I guess the point he's trying to make is she's committing a bigger crime in terms of as a legal professional than I am. So if I get disbarred, she should get disbarred.
Good
And then
point,
after
good
that,
point.
si Digong daw ifa-file din niya ng disbarment case daw. So it's interesting. So that's his attack dog. Larry Gadon. Pero of course, nakikita mo Marcos is distancing himself from Larry Gadon kasi he's not the kind of guy you want to be, seen with or heard talking to. Although I saw Christian Esguerra just did an interview with Larry Gadon. Kaya ako
Ay,
natatawa eh.
Talagang yung kabilang channel, talagang ano. Um, Honestly, I'm always wondering what's really going on there. Is it because kasi nung election naman, 'di ba? I mean, alam natin who was campaigning for who, but is this the posh side of BBM na parang siguro nandidiri siya dito sa mga low life trolls na iba diyan kaya lumalayo siya. And then he also lost si ano yung asawa ni Tony G.
Oh yeah. Si ano, yung what's the name?
Yeah, exactly. Si Paulo, anong pangalan niya? Basta yung director na yan, di ba? So, I think he could have been the Steve Bannon. Well, na Steve Bannon din siya kasi natanggal siya eventually. So, I think he could have had a bunch of operator, media people who could have taken. And then, for some reason, nawala. Nawala rin siya niyang Vic Rodriguez. But, good riddance.
right.
So, I think, yun nga, hindi niya na-replace hindi niya na-replenish yung ranks niya. I mean, he has a bunch of people like Bersamin, a very, technical, judge type of person, Supreme Court Chief Justice, and then bodies like Lagdemeos, mga ganun. But yun nga, wala siyang Bongo wala siyang Ronald Llamas di ba? And when you're up against Duterte, probably you need 10 Ronald Llamas or like 20 Bongos, right? Kasi parang, Paul Soriano, sorry, Paul Soriano. Siyang galing
There
ka.
you go.
Si Paul, so I think something really, yun yung problema. Wala siyang bench. Hindi deep yung bench ni BBM. And someone
Yeah.
was telling me, hindi mo rin may sisi because Marcoses were not a national force until recently, right?
Yeah.
Marginalized sila eh. I mean, of course, sa amin, sa Ilocos, they were a big force. But at the national level, hindi masyado eh. So they had to rely essentially on two groups. Mga bata ni President Arroyo at mga bata ni President Digong. And I think that's why, nung nagkaroon ng hidwaan and all of that, Marcos always struggled to replenish his ranks. And not to mention, with the exception of Senator Trillanes, I don't think there are many smart, brave guys from traditional opposition who are openly okay with working with BBM. Actually, I was wondering if by some chance I bump into BBM and there's an event, and if there's a picture, ano bang dapat facial expression ko para hindi ako makancel or something like that. Like that. And what if BBM is smiling and then I'm like that? It will be rude, diba? So, kaya I was glad, Ma'am Lenny, said something like, it's not about BBM, it's about the office of the president, respect for that. So at least,
Yeah.
may excuse na tayo just in case. So, what I'm saying is that medyo may personal problem talaga. May personnel problem na kulang talaga siya ng the right lieutenants to pull off what. So feeling ko undermanned siya. Kaya others are stepping up. Trillanes is stepping up. Akbayan is stepping up. Well, in a way, you and I are stepping up to fight against the trolls and all those bayaran out there. But it is what it is. I mean, I think this creates also new space for new voices to come out and for us to also rediscover our footing. Ikaw, anong tingin mo dyan, bro?
Well, for me naman, regarding yung mga like having the lieutenants, the beauty of what BBM is doing with his presidency is that he's allowing all the different factions to move freely. Yeah. And that becomes his lieutenants, if you want to look at it that way. Like the Franz Castros, the Kabataan Bloc, yung mga ganyan, those become his lieutenants. And those are tentacles of government that are working. He's allowing the different tentacles to work properly. The fact that he has Speaker Romualdez there, who's a very powerful figure in Congress. And then he's got the Joel Chuas, and then the Ace Barbers, yung mga ganyan, on Congress alone. And then you've got Risa Santos. So you see that they're not allies. But by allowing the opposition to do their work, he actually is empowering them to be able to protect him from the real enemy. Parang ganon. And that's the good thing about it. So, I think that's more strategic, and I think it's better because now you've got attacks coming from all sides. Hindi lang one singular point. Kasi si Duterte is more of galing sa kanya and bam, babanatan niya kahit sinong tumanggi. Very authoritarian yung dating. Marcos is like his campaign slogan, unity, di ba? He really tried to do that, to do it in a way where, sige, it's an attack from all sides. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And even each side are not going to always agree. But at least there's always that dissenting opinion that creates for a stronger ideology in a way that helps the country. Yun yung maganda sa nangyayari ngayon. So that's my take on it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's good. Because nga of that, now that's why you got this impeachment filed today. And that's what makes this impeachment quite interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, let's see,
I
let's
want,
see. Mm.
hindi,
Ako kasi,
pero I wanted to, ano yun, ano yun?
no, 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 I mean, I see your argument na let 1,000, flowers bloom or something like that, but
Oh,
my only counter to that would be there should still be a center of gravity. There should be a center
mm,
of gravity for two reasons. One, unfortunate, nasanay tayo with Digong na authoritarian leader. And unfortunately, marami pa rin sa ating mga kababayan, hinahanap pa rin kamay na bakal. So I think it's important for Marcos not to look weak. And pangalawa, yun nga lahat ng mga, di ba in economics, the term of principal agent problem, what if yung mga lieutenants may sariling pag-iisip at may sariling interest, mamaya nagsariling negosyo na. So, I think there still should be a national vision and organizing principle. Kaya doon kailangan mo yung Bongo Doon mo kailangan yung Ronald Llamas to make sure itong vectors na to don't go rogue. That still there's a center of gravity and there's a direction to this. Kasi brother, ang worry ko dito, if you were from that side, is baka mamaya 1,000 flowers bloom and then in the end, wala rin siyang denouement, right? And Duterte's make a comeback. That's not impossible. So I think but again, you're right in a sense that who knows? Maybe in 5 to 6 months, I will be proven wrong and say, see, Digong was the good Machiavellian silent killer. Yeah, I'm open to that possibility. I'm more than happy to be wrong on some issues. But at the same time, feeling ko talaga, I'm hearing from too many people, from diplomatic committee, business committee, whatever, even people who work in the government na friendly kay BBM, medyo kulang daw yung center of gravity, which makes me think, brother, this has to do with the fact that he also knows my stigma kasi. Because he's a Ferdinand Marcos. He's always probably a little bit, medyo parang may
yeah.
handicaps in that sense. Self-imposed handicap, if I can tell you
Um,
that. But I rather have him, but I'll be clear, I rather have this, kung saan you and I can feel there's a space, than the Duterte or some Epal style of president. So I also see where you're coming from. As Senator De Lima put it, there's democratic space now, which is also the term I
yeah,
use separately. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I wonder, no, yung mga narinig mo mga usap-usapan with the business community or the political community or even the foreign dignitaries na kulang yung center of gravity. Well, you know what? That's the beauty of a democracy. And you know what? Probably some of these foreign dignitaries are from countries that doesn't have a center of gravity in that sense, where the democracy works. And some of them even have a parliamentary system where it's actually spread across the different areas. And that's what makes for stronger countries where the government becomes invisible in a way. And that's what I hope for our government to become. When you have a center of gravity, it calls for big government, more government interventions. And what's happening in here in this case with BBM's presidency is because there's no center of gravity. It's allowing the democratic institutions to function. Yun yung maganda doon. And even if I don't agree with a lot of these senators that are clowns, pero at least tumatakbo sila ng somehow may sariling isip. Kahit papaano, at least on the optics it looks like that. I don't know if it really is, pero on the optics it looks like parang ganun yun. And even Congress at Senate nagbabanggaan. Okay yun. That is actually what makes us stronger. So for some of these people to say na hindi dapat may konting anong word ang hinahanap nyo? Pagka-authoritarian?
No, I think the
Para
term is
tama ka.
decisive. I think decisive is more the term there. But ako kasi bro, I agree with you. I mean, mga Amerikano, they have no, moral authority to tell us anything, or I can go on and on with many countries. But there's one big difference, brother. Their presidents are not up against a Duterte. You know what I'm saying? Ang problem ko kasi dito is when you're up against Duterte, so are willing to burn down the house to get their
Yep.
way, you
Yep.
may need a little bit of center of gravity. So I agree with
Ah.
you, but now you see where I'm coming from. Of course, as a Democrat, I want decentralization, diffusion of power. It's good for me, it's good for my country. Ang problema ko kasi dito is the problem is staring you in the face. And that problem is the Dutertes. Kaya nga, feeling ko, that's why you need to counter that first. May yin and yang kang kailangan gawin. At yun yung medyo worry ko na we might not be able to do what we have to do if walang clarity on the center of gravity. But having said that, I mean, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong on this point down the road. I'm not invested in seeing BBM fail. I'm invested in seeing our government succeed because the success of government is the success of people, unless they're against the constitutional order. But I want to ask you something, brother. Kamusta yung mga Quadcom hearing? Kasi last week, natabunan kasi to Natabunan ng mga
Yep.
impeachment issues. There was a hearing as we speak. Trillanes was there, very long conversation. May
Yep.
footages pa dun sa yung Las Cañas with Christian Esquera, etc.
Yep.
How are the Quadcom hearings? And then, are there more to come? Ano yung alam mo dun sa mga mechanics of the hearings, brother?
So they did the last Quadcom hearing, and they were focusing more on the importation of drugs and how it happened and the role of customs. And this is the big revelation. Is well, it's not much of a revelation. Everyone knows the most corrupt agency in the Philippines is what? O, tingnan natin kung ano sabihin ng ating mga viewers. Ano ba yung pinaka-corrupt na ahensya sa buong Pilipinas? So, ayan. Mabibigyan kayo ng premyo pag mahulaan nyo to. Obviously, it's the customs. And nung nagkwento na si Mark Taguba kung gaano kalala ang korupsyon, man, it will blow your mind. Okay, I'll just give you an idea, Richard. For every container Mark Taguba brought in, every container, he has to pay 170,000 per container. Binibigay niya sa maraming ahensya, iba't ibang ahensya, iba't ibang mga direktor, mga commissioner, marami yan. May 10,000 dito, 10,000, 5,000 lahat. Kahit na janitor, may makukuha yan. And then, this is the kicker. He is able to bring in about 100 a week. 100 containers, totaling 17 million a week. Times 52 weeks, 844, hindi, tama ba yun? 800 basta. It's 844 million pesos na kumakalat just for one broker, ah. Sabi, ilan ng brokers? Ilan kayong mga brokers? There's hundreds of brokers. As a matter of fact, I looked at the number the other day. Parang pumapasok sa Pilipinas is like 6,000 containers a day. It's a ridiculous number. Ganun ka-corrupt ang customs, ganun kalaki ang nakukuha sa ating bansa. So, yun yung malaking problema na nakita nila. Ngayon, drugs was one of the problems. Smuggled items is the other one. And then you look at the money lost to corruption because of how corrupt the customs is. So, in-offer ni Jinky Luistro na dapat talaga i-overhaul na tong customs. Again, this Quadcom, right now, they're doing their job. They didn't get much of the ratings last Friday dahil natabunan nga because of the news about yung pag-announce yung press ko ni BBM and other things that took over the news that week. So medyo mababa yung ratings sila on the TV show Quadcom series. Pero the message is still there.
Ratings talaga.
Ratings habol ng ano,
Showtime.
ratings habol. I'm telling you, lahat ng politiko ngayon, habol ay ratings. Nakikita nila kung ano yung viewership ng mga live stream nila. They actually tout the live stream viewerships. They count it. They know exactly what it is. And they know that last Friday, mahina siya. Pero importante pa rin yung mga na-discover nila dito, especially about customs. One thing lang that Congress should do at this point. Honestly, they have all the information they need. They have to now be able to show that Quadcom was not just a show, na merong talagang action na mangyayari after this. Kasi kung wala silang nagawa na legislation to be able to move forward and protect the Filipinos from all of the crime and the criminal activities that happened, then walang kwenta tong Quadcom, they will lose their credibility. So that's where we're at. Dami na. So let's see. Next week, next week maghihearing na ata yung Public Accountability Committee with regards to the OVP budget. Pero dahil nga si SARA ay hindi naman pumunta sa NBI, baka daw titignan daw lang kasi they wanna give way to SARA going to the NBI. Pero I don't even think she's really gonna go. So there, that's my take on the Quadcom and then the Committee on Public Accountability.
So, ano yun? Sa tingin mo, lalaos na yan or magte-taper off na itong Quadcom na to? I mean, with
Yeah.
now the impeachment file, I think the focus should shift, no?
Yeah, the focus does shift because the Quadcom was not about impeachment. The Quadcom was about the EJK, Pogos, West Philippine Sea, and the drug war. So yun yung focus nila. And right now, the focus has shifted to the OVP's confidential fund budget. But alam mo, if I were the Quadcom, sige, if we're talking ratings, kasi they all want ratings. Natatalo na sila ni Chairman Joel Chua sa kanyang Public Accountability Committee dahil mainit na usapan yun ngayon eh. Pero kaya nila ibalik yung init sa kanila if they're able to first reveal new evidence shocking evidence, evidence that's gonna really make other people that support Duterte really turn their turn the tables and want to run away from him as far as
But
possible.
what
Kung
could
may
that
magawa
be?
silang ganun.
Ayun nga, bro. Yun nga, I wonder, like, first of all, have we not exposed enough for an average voter na hindi fanatic to turn their, and if talagang fanatic, I don't think there's really hope, right? Kasi kaya I'm wondering, like, how many more hearings do we need? Kasi baka maumay ng tao eh.
Yeah.
No offense, no offense.
Yeah, at this point, I think you're right eh. I think we're at the point of saturation eh. Na busog na yung mga tao, nakita nila yung kailangan na makita, narinig na yung kailangan nilang marinig. At siguro dapat i-wind down na nga nila to at gumawa na sila ng right steps to be able to move forward. That is how they can reclaim the top rating spot. Pag magawa nila yung legislation na magpapakita na talagang ginawa nila trabaho nila, they're gonna be able to do. You know what they should do? I'll tell you yung with regards to the Public Accountability Committee na medyo malakas pa ngayon, the type of legislation they need to do is take out the confidential fund for all. For all. Pag ginawa nila yon, tataas ang rating sa itong mga to. Kung sino yung congressman na yan, mananalo yan sa distrito niya pag ginawa niya yan. So I'm saying it, kung gusto nyo itag itong mga kongresista na to, itag nyo sila para marinig nila itong mensaheng to. So pag ginawa niya, tinanggal yung confidential funds, the president, baba mo back to 500 million o a billion. At least not 4.5 billion. Kasi hindi mo naman talaga magagastos yan eh. Kasi may army ka, may military ka, may police ka, andyan lahat eh. So just put it at a level where it's actually at the right amount. Okay, next. For the Quadcom naman, yun. Right now, they're doing the right steps in terms of what they plan for legislation. Pero may ipin ba yung legislation na yan? Yung number one kailangan lagawin is for customs. Yan. Pangalawa, yung mga different agencies, including immigration, PSA, BIR, yung mga ganyan, kailangan ma-check na yan. Even land and SEC. So, kailangan lang gumawa ng tamang legislation to be able to make sure na hindi na mangyayari yung mga ganitong kalokohan. Okay, Richard, ito pa. With regards to EJK. So, the question now is, what do you do when there are rogue cops, a rogue president, and also, is this something that should be in consideration? The death penalty? At this point. So yun ang mga kailangan tignan talaga natin and they have to see the pulse of the people with regards to this. I don't know how people are right now eh. Gusto ba nila ng death penalty? Hindi. Kasi nung panahon ni Duterte, parang gusto nila ng death penalty pero walang due process eh. So yung bang gusto ng tao makita? I don't know. But that is where they should
Gusto
go.
nila death penalty, pero biglang nung pinapas na penalty, pero not for corruption, for drugs lang. So biglang ang
Ayun,
hindi
exactly.
ko
Weird, ano?
nag-oppose doon. Oh. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. There has to be deliverables. Kasi kung walang deliverable yun at saka purong ano lang, ratings show lang ito, maging cynical lang tao. So I think you're right. You know, this is what made Senator Lacson such a beloved person once upon a time, di ba? Before yung whole
Oh,
PMRC episode niya. But which is, he didn't get the pork barrel, di ba? And that gave him a certain degree of authority and gravitas when he questioned corruption. So sana itong mga congressmen yan, this will be their moment to, to have the moral na
yeah.
high ground na, 'di ba? And they have to deliver something. At least yung kay 'di ba? Kay Riza Ontiveros, you followed also, 'di ba? Tapos na. So
Yep.
officially wala na yan. So it's now not wala na yan in the sense that it's actually now forwarded to the channels. Can you update people doon sa Senado yung mga hearings na matino? The very
Yeah.
few.
Yes, so the last hearing of Senator Rizal Tiveros was last week, and that last hearing with regards to the Pogos has concluded, and it concluded with a whimper. Mababa yung ratings noon. Wala masyadong nanood noon. At hindi lang yon, wala ding mga special guests. Wala nang mga honorable mentions. As a matter of fact, nag-iisa si Risa on the last episode. Lahat ng mga senador umalis dahil nakita nila wala na, tapos na. Yung palabas, naiwan si Risa mag-isa on that last Senate hearing. I feel really bad. Pero you know what? I love her conviction. Dahil tumayo siya doon, umupo in this case, and humarap siya and closed the session with the right recommendations, and the resource people were there basically summarizing everything of what happened and what we should do at this point and who are the real players. They created their matrix, a proper matrix with backed up evidence. Hindi lang haka-haka to. And you saw how everything was interconnected talaga to Duterte. And that's what made it strong. Now, then the real work happens after. If you can come up with legislation that really makes it better for Filipinos na hindi na tayo masasakupan ng mga dayuhan tulad na nangyayari ngayon, then we'll see what really how effective Senator Hontiveros really is. Again, that's the same challenge with Congress that I give to Senator Hontiveros. You know, I'm a fan. I think Senator Hontiveros is doing a great job. But let's see the legislation she's going to be able to come up with. But, ito lang yung pinagkaiba. Remember kasi ang committee ni Senator Hontiveros ay children, children and women's rights. So, the legislation she's going to be doing is in aid of that marginalized group that she's heading. Yun eh. But she'll probably do something with regards to the other agencies as well. So, yun yung pinagkaiba nila with regards to Quadcom. And honestly, right now, I think okay na tayo with the Senate hearing. And besides, the other Senate hearings they're all clowns. It's all a circus show anyway. We all know that. What is the point? Tignan mo hindi na nila tinuloy yung follow-up na sinabi ni Senator Pimentel na tutuloy nilang hearing on the EJ case and the drug war. Ano na nangyari? Wala na. Hindi na nila itutuloy yan because they don't know where it's going anyway. They never had the right objectives to begin with. Alam mo I've said this over and over. Pakinggan mo yung sinabi ni Senator Pimentel on his opening statement of this hearing they're doing on EJ case and the drug war. They were not looking to find the truth on what really happened. They're looking just to be able to ask lang daw or to find out lang daw about EJ case and hear people's sides. That's it. Wala. There was no true objective. Kaya ngayon, wala na. Nakuha na ni Digong yung gusto niya, wala na. Hindi na tutuloy. Gagawa ba ng legislation? No, they're not. Senator Pimentel? Hell no. He doesn't have the balls to do it. He never did. So that's my take on Senate compared to Congress. What's your take on it?
No, I'm glad that actually Riza was the last woman standing because it just reminded everyone sila lang totoo. I rather have
Yes.
my pulse there. So I think she closed it on a strong note and nagkaalaman na kung sinong totoo at hindi. So if she runs for a higher office, which is almost certain, come 2028, may credibilidad siya. And pwede niya balikan yung moment niyan. When everyone was leaving because there was no more rating, I was the one there and I carried it across the line. That's what leadership is all about. So I'm actually happy that yun ang nangyari and the contrast and juxtaposition. Last point lang, brother. Meron ba tayong update sa Pogo ban? Because I think, di ba si Casio natanggal? Yung parating interview ni Christian.
Yeah.
Every time binuksan ko YouTube ko, ayan na naman si Casio, saan si Seiko, di ba? Like, syempre, ayan na naman si Casio, Seiko. Natanggal na siya! Ano nangyari?
Yeah, ang alam ko is that they're all being charged na. There are charges filed against them. They're all now arrested. They're incarcerated while they're going to be facing trial. So the NBI has done their job, and now the DOJ, everyone, the full force of the law is on them. Ang problem lang right now natin with the Pogos is that marami ngayon nag-splinter into smaller pogos that's hiding within mga parang what do you call those yung mga call centers yung ganon nag-hide within those ganong klaseng mga organizations. So but the good thing is the PAOK has not stopped in terms of being able to go after all these illegal pogos, pero maliliit na lang sila. And alam mo, I mean, we all felt it. Talagang my God talaga nung na-announce tong ban na to tapos nagbigay ng deadline. I mean, I saw the exodus of the Chinese. Absolutely, I saw it on every angle possible, online and in person. I'm so happy on Shaw Boulevard. Wala na ako nakikita mga mainland Chinese na mga gangsters na pumapaligid dyan na nagte-terrorize ang ating mga kababayan.
That not racist note because you're Chinoy on that very para sa bayan rule of law note kasi alam mo naman yung mga DDS, you just say something on China, oh racist ka, parang ano kinalaman niya sa racist. Thank you, brother. That was a wonderful conversation. I think I think I'm generally happy with the direction of things despite everything I'm saying. Ako naman I always feel we can always do better. And at the same time, always looking 2-3 steps ahead. Kasi hindi pwedeng ano ka lang humahabol ka lang So I'm glad that because of itong conversations natin, daming lumalabas, no? Daming angles and all. And I'm glad that maraming nag-appreciate dito sa mga usapan natin dahil dito sa mga usapin politika talaga natin, di ba? We're really looking at all angles, possibilities, and at the same time, para sa bayan talaga to. This is not for any political side.
I have one question, Richard, before we go, is this, tinatanong ng mga tao, what about Senator Gatchalian? What's your take on him? Kasi nga, di ba, like, he was, celebrated during the Pogo hearings, na parang, wow, yung tandem niya ni Risa, and then, naban ng Pogo because of their work, tandem sila eh. And look at where he is. And what's your take on it? That, yun na nga, na lumalabas ka, that he was one of the biggest campaign donors for Sara Duterte, and now he's making the pronouncements that tataasan yung budget ni VP Sara. Ikaw, because I'm confused with this guy. I'm wondering, what is the deal with him?
Yeah,
What's
I
your
mean,
take?
honestly, we're Instagram friends. We're friends. I mean, I had him a couple of times, but um, yun nga eh. Makita na the ties that bind. Actually, I think to be technically correct, I mean chronologically correct, I think yung issue nung kotse, yung Senate car,
Yes.
andun allegedly yung daddy niya, I think doon nagsimula na medyo naglaylo siya. And at the same time, of course, na-implicate din siya doon sa mga iba na pushing for higher budget. And then, nilabas ulit ng media yung mga top donors na, but not as big as Harry Roque's contribution. Si
All
Harry,
right.
galing talaga niya. I mean, how many ex-human rights lawyer nakita mo na kaya nila mag-million, actually tens of millions ba?
32 million,
32, yes,
if I
like,
remember correctly.
so ilan renminbi yan? Divided by
Yep.
8, di ba? So, anyway, wala akong sinasabi. I'm just looking at currency exchange. I'm a geek for currency
Well,
exchange.
Well, just to give you an idea, no, if
Sige lang,
somebody was
bro.
able to give 30 million in campaign donations, they have to be worth at least a billion. A billion, okay? Kasi kung hindi ka worth 1 billion pesos, masakit ang 30 million pesos na ibibigay mo lang para kampanya. Kahit mga bilyonaryo, hindi
3 billion
magbibigay ng
din.
30
That's
million.
3% of your wealth. That's still a lot.
That's still a lot.
You
Exactly.
have to be
That's see.
multi-billion.
Yeah, see how you computed it. It's still a lot. Kaya I'm giving
3%
you
is a
that's
lot,
the
brother.
baseline, 1 billion minimum. Kaya talagang nagtataka ka kung talagang pera ba to ni
Wala
ni
tayong sinasabi, ha?
Roque?
Wala tayong sinasabi.
No, 'di ba?
The
It
manhunt is ongoing, so we don't want to prejudice the process. On that note, thank you very much, brother. I'm glad na kahit papaano natutuloy-tuloy natin. I think people always look forward to
yes.
starting the week dun sa usapang politika. R meets C. Booyakasha Palahura Podcast. See you soon, brother. Talk to you soon. Next week,
Take
hopefully in
care.
person na tayo. I'll be out of town lang, but next week, God willing, let's do in person again with sila Mark RRM. Sa
Love it.
Paris, si Monsieur Ronald Liama, si Monsieur. Hopefully when he's also back, we can all gather together. Salamat, bro,
All
and
right.
forward to you.